All right. I think we're starting to get people coming in. I can see the ticker here going higher and higher, which is great. I
Okay.
think I'll just give it a few more seconds.
Can people hear us not talking yet, right? Or are there
I
any?
I think we're live.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, and we'll confirm it by just asking for a few emoji reactions. Can you guys hear us? Yes, there we go. Thanks, Mark. Perfect. Perfect. We're very excited for this. All right, we're at 21. I think we'll get started actually. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We're really happy to have you here. We've been looking forward to this and we appreciate you spending the next hour with us. So I'm Ty. No, I'm Nancy. And this is Ty right here. I'm in marketing and Ty is an AI engineer. And we both work at a company called Civic. I know a lot of us are here today because we have this fear that everyone is an AI expert, but it's not true. Or maybe the thought of getting started with AI is overwhelming, or you're afraid to ask questions. So, our goal today is to give you practical skills you can use right away. Over the next hour, we definitely want to hear from you. We can't see your faces, so feel free to interact with us with the emojis, with the chat box, with the Q&A box. We are going to take all your questions and we will also queue these up for Ty as we go along. We're also going to get a little interactive at a couple points during the webinar by asking you to jump in and share ideas, share your inputs. Don't worry, you're not actually going to be on camera talking, you're just typing. So with that, I will turn it over to Ty.
Awesome, thank you. I just want to make sure that I'm not covering over the slides there because I specifically saw. So I'm just going to reshare my screen and I'm just going to make it a little bit more interactive. Tell me if this is too small. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. Thank you. How does that look, Nancy? Is that okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Nancy, for that wonderful introduction. I'm Tyron Avnet. I've been with Civic for almost 7 years now. I'm applied AI engineer and developer relations. I have originally from South Africa, moved to Austin, and I've been here for about 2.5 years. And I've just completely fallen in love with this technology. I can't believe we've come across a technology where we can finally speak to a system, a computer system, in the same way we would speak to a human. That just almost seemed like a dream when I was growing up. And it's completely changed the way I've worked. And I'm hoping to share that same enthusiasm with you as we go through this different presentation. And yeah, basically, let's get started. So what I want to share with you today is the organization, what we're going to talk about is specifically around writing, scheduling, and organization. And what we want to illustrate here is that distinctive work comes from choosing unusual constraints. And the idea is that in order to write better, you have to teach the AI and the LLM your style, your preferences, your habits, and how you like specifically to write. And all of this can be done really efficiently, but it requires a lot of upfront work in order to do that. I'm sure all of you, for example, I'm sure you, Nancy, for example, received an email from someone and you know it has definitely been written by someone. It's just thrown it into ChatGPT, given no thought behind it, and just sent it across. And that's something we're really trying to avoid. We're really trying to bring out your own voice, for you to be distinct, and really just try to evolve with the system and use it as a tool and not something that's just going to do the work for you. So let's go on today. So what you'll see today is I'm going to specifically be working in Claude. Claude is a competitor to ChatGPT. I like it a bit more. We can get into why, but it could be small things like just the UI UX is just a lot more pleasing. And the model itself, which is the LLM, tends to write a little bit better in my style. But this can be applied to working in ChatGPT, for example, or any sort of client IDE tool that you would like to use. Most popular is ChatGPT. The other one is Claude, and I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more about it as you go on. But it is definitely my tool of preference. But I definitely use multiple different ones at the same time. And then you'll see every prompt on screen. I think Nancy's going to share the Notion sheet if she hasn't already. And you'll be able to see the workflow that we'll go through. We're going to go through a specific workflow and show you how we're going to develop the style over time. So basically what we're going to take is we're going to take an input that was generic, written by AI, and we're going to transform it into a style guide. And what a style guide is, it's just basically a guide that tells the large language model your preferences, your habits, and the way that you like to write. It's just basically giving it context on specifically you. So when you paste it in again, another prompt, it could be an email, Slack message, a blog post, it knows your style basically just by this thing that we developed together. And you'll see on the right-hand side that I've got on the y-axis originality and on the x-axis context. And everyone starts at the bottom left here. You can just paste in an email and say to an LLM, please write this more professionally. And it doesn't know anything about you. It doesn't know anything about what you want. And it's just going to come out with a generic response. And most people get stuck here. They say, okay, well, this is ridiculous. I mean, it sounds like everything else. Like, how do I move beyond this? And what we're trying to highlight here is it's an iterative process. You're trying to get somewhere in the middle. If you think of this large language model of being able to go into multiple different paths and pathways, you've got to prompt it and give it the right context to get to the specific point that you like. And that takes a lot of upfront work. And once you get there, you can reuse that. You don't have to start from the bottom again. And that's what we want to kind of teach you. Yes, and then Nancy also mentioned that we'll ask you for your input 2 times. So this is going to be collaborative. I want it to be fun. I find that the more diverse inputs, different directions you give the large language model, the more interesting its response is going to be. So we are different backgrounds, different cultures. We don't know each other. We've all got different things that we like. And if we bring all of that together and we create a style guide and a persona and use that to write something, we might get something that's chaotic, something interesting, something beautiful. Who knows? But let's experiment there. Okay, so let's just give you a few seconds to read over this. But on the left-hand side is something that you've probably seen on LinkedIn 100 times. It's an AI response that says basically, everyone's been waiting. AI induces anxiety. It's something that you'll read and you won't read. You read it and you're like, okay, no, this was definitely written about AI. Who's the person behind this? It has no personality. And we've seen it multiple times before. And then on the right-hand side is with just a few different prompting techniques, we can get to something that's a little bit more unique. Something that's sounds a little bit more like us, a little bit something that sounds like it was written by a human being and not an LLM. And that's what we want to try to do. We want to try prompt it and iterate and work with it over time, that it will generate something that sounds a little bit more like us. And we want to be able to do this once and then do it multiple times and evolve it over time. So what we're going to do today, this is the agenda. We're going to write. We're going to build your own voice through writing. Then Nancy is going to ask you for your input words that you hate from the LinkedIn post, and then words that you actually admire, writing that you admire. I don't want you to focus on that too much right now, but that's how we're going to build the persona. First, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it just using my writing style, my preferences. And then once I've got that, like I've got that document, I've got this style guide, I've got this persona, I want to be able to reuse it. Like I want to be able to reuse it for an email. I might want to reuse it for a message I'm trying to respond to my boss, for example, or I'm trying to reuse it for a blog post. So it understands my style. And I don't want to have to go copy and paste it between multiple different systems. I just want to pull it into the place that I'm working, which is Claude, the tool that I'll be showing you. And then once we've organized and we've got the style guide that we can evolve and save over time, I'm going to get all of your inputs. And like I mentioned, we're going to build our own style guide together. And we're going to transform that post again into something that's quite interesting. And then I'm going to ask Nancy to review it. I'm going to send that document straight from the chat to Nancy, ask her to review it to see whether she likes it. And then I'm going to schedule to send it or post it during the week on Friday, for example. And that whole thing's going to be seamless without us ever leaving the application. But the most part we're going to focus on is the actual workflow, and that's trying to develop your writing. So we're starting here and we're trying to get us to a specific goal. We're going to how to build your style guide from what you hate and what you love, and we're going to show you how to do that. So without further ado, there is this specific Notion guide here. And in this guide, it's divided up into 3 acts. I'm not going to go through all of them. We're going to go through all of them together. But I'm just going to start at Act 1. And Act 1 is just this specific prompt here. I'm going to go to Claude. And you can see, hopefully everyone can see this here. And it says afternoon tie. And it knows me, right? Like this is if for those of you who haven't used ChatGPT, I mean, haven't used Claude before, it's very similar interface to ChatGPT. But this is just an alternative. I really prefer the model here. It's called Sonnet 4.5. There's Opus, Haiku. This one specifically here is really good at writing, but it's a lot more expensive. And I think you have to be on the pan, if I'm not mistaken, in order to do it. But it should be free up to a certain limit. But you can correct me if I'm wrong there. And I really, really enjoy just the interface and the experience that Claude provides. But the one thing I want to show you here is that it knows who I am. So if I open up here and I go to settings and I go to capabilities, you can see here it's got memory turned on. And what that means is it's internally memorizing important moments as I chat with it. I can see it, but it's kind of hidden away. And then it can also reference past chat messages I've talked with Claude with. So it might reference a message, a chat history from, I don't know, a day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And then it's also specifically stored these memories that is quite abstract to me. I don't know what it's storing, but I'm sure I can go and find out. But the reason I'm trying to tell you that is not to teach you about memory, is that I want to go into an incognito mode. And when I go into the incognito mode, you can see it says greetings whoever you are. So it's not influenced by anything that I've done throughout Claude. It's just basically a blank slate. So you can see I've come in here, it's blank, it doesn't know who I am, it's got no preferences, it doesn't know anything about I am. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to paste in this prompt. And it says, I'm going to show you a LinkedIn post. I'll tell you one thing I don't like. You'll fix just one thing, one at a time, and we'll do this until it sounds like me. And we're going to hit the enter there. So while that's generating it, it's going to ask me one thing I don't like. So I don't like emojis. And the reason I'm doing this one step at a time is because then as I do it specific time, I can see exactly the changes it's making. It went from this with all these emojis to this, exactly the same structure, exactly the same sentence. It's just removed emojis. So now I'm going to say, please remove the M dashes. And for those of you who don't know what M dashes are, it's basically these dashes here. And it's really easy to tell if something was written by an LLM if it's using those dashes, even though it's grammatically correct. It's very difficult to train it out or even prompt it out. I will show you basically when we developed our style guide, I'll paste it in again to rewrite this, and it might sometimes still include those M dashes. So it's very difficult to kind of prompt that away, but we'll try. So I'm going to say, please remove them M dashes.
Ty, I'm going to stop you really quickly. We've got an open question from Mark. He says, cannot see your screen. Is that true of everyone, or is it just because there's Ty's partially covering his screen with his face? I can see. I can see it, but his face could be okay. Okay. Ty, why don't you take your face off the screen? I think part of your appearance on screen might be just covering important info that you want to showcase in Claude. Okay, here we go. I think we're good.
Can you see it now? Perfect. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I'm off camera.
Okay.
Okay, great. So just to recap, I'm just telling the LLM one thing I don't like at a time, because if I tell it one thing I don't like at a time, it's easy for me to measure and see the changes and how the LLM is changing it. I could go ahead and say, give it a whole paragraph in a sentence about what I don't like, but then it's very difficult for me to see what it's changing. So what else don't I like? I don't like all caps. It seems like the author is trying to shout at me. So I'm starting to give it a little bit more context about what I like, what I don't like. So now all the caps are gone. And now I'm going to try change this the structure of it and the feeling behind of what it conveys. And I'm going to say, like, I feel like the post is or not authentic. The author's making claims but not backing up those claims. That's a single thing I want to see. And I just want to kind of get a feeling of how it's going to change from here. It kind of invented those numbers. I'm going to say, please don't invent those numbers. And then I'm going to say, I really don't like posts that induce some sort of anxiety. Basically saying that if you do not like, if you don't join this framework, you're basically going to be left behind. And then I say, I really want to convey the message of approaching writing in a systematic way. I find that it's very useful to me, and I want to convey that to the audience as well. Okay, so we've got about 6 things that we've kind of worked with the LLM in order to rewrite this. Let's see what the last one generates. I really like that. So it's already gotten quite a bit. I mean, you can iterate it a little bit more, but what I want to show you right now is just based on a few prompts. Where's my Notion guide? Yeah, this is not it. Oh, yes, yeah. I'm going to take a prompt here. I'm going to say, based on my rejections, based on all my rejections, create a voice profile that describes my writing style, what patterns emerge, and from what I rejected. And just from 6 things that I've said to this LLM, it's basically generated me a profile. Grounded and genuine, not hype-driven, calm and informative rather than urgent or anxiety-inducing. Builds trust through substance, not through... I mean, this is the first pass, and it only happened by me prompting the LLM 6 times. It knows nothing else about me, right? The idea here is this might be a good pass for you, it might not, but then you can iterate on this as well. I quite like it. I do quite like it. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to say, please, can you use this? Please, can you use this to rewrite that LinkedIn post? And because an LLM is non-deterministic, if I had to close this, and what I mean by non-deterministic is means if I give it the exact same input, the exact same like question to ask it, it's not always going to give me back the same response. And that gets even more likely by the more information that you give it. So now it's gone, I've been experimenting with a more systematic approach to AI writing, and it's made a real difference in my work. Most people, myself included, until recently, treat AI like a one-off tool after that. Okay, it's a really much better. I really like that much better. Do you like that, Nancy?
Yeah, your previous post was very hyped, right? And it doesn't sound like you at all. But this, I can actually see your personality in it, your genuine personality.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to say it's still a little bit verbose. Can we shorten it a little bit? I like concise writing. And then we're going to get it to regenerate that profile. Okay. Then you regenerate that profile. Because I've iterated it, I've asked it to do another thing. It might have picked something else from that input in order to, grounded and genuine, not hype-driven, credibility and claims, core values, systematic thinking. Okay, so it's picked up quite a bit. I'm not going to go through all of it and dissect it, but it'll take quite a long time. But what I want to do from here is I'm going to say, okay, this is great. This is really great. So what do I do with this? I don't want to copy and paste it between different systems. I don't want to go and when I go to a new chat, be able to copy and paste it there. The whole point of this thing is that it can evolve with you. So anything you might come across, and it's quite interesting. Like I've seen people use this in such a way that where they might be reading a book or they might be reading a story, they come across something that's interesting on Twitter, and they take that and they update their style guide in order to say, this is a kind of, these are some of the ideas that I quite like. And it evolves with them. And we'll show you that as well. So I'm going to say, okay, this is great. Please, can you save this to my Google Drive? Google Docs. Name the sheet AI writing. So, right. So now I'm basically telling the large language model to create this document for me. And don't worry if this is a little bit confusing right now. I will explain it a little bit more towards the end. But I've connected my Google and my Gmail suite directly to Claude, so I don't have to copy and paste this into a Google document. And what that means is, if I open this, it's created this guide for me. And what's nice about this is that I can see it at a high level view. I can see what it's written about me. I can go and edit this. I can say, what I like, what I don't like. It's not hidden by the LLM, and that's what I like a lot. If I close this chat, it's gone. That's what I like. I find a lot easier and easier to reason about than having something that's stored in a memory that is very difficult for me to figure out. So anything and all my writing's not in, it's influenced by a single guide that is here. And we can try that again. We can just take this post again and say, please rewrite this using my AI style guide on Google Docs. So it knows that it needs to go and fetch this document. It's going to fetch that document. Sorry, 2 seconds. Should have the Google Docs connector. Sometimes it loses. I'm going to give it the name. Sometimes I just have to give it context into the name. It is called Writing Style Guide. So once it goes and fetches this document, then it can go and fetch it. Retrieve it, then use that to rewrite the message. So let's see what it comes up with now, right? We did say we wanted short and concise. We did say that we wanted in a specific tone. I'll find it. Now it's going to read the document. And I don't ever have to leave Google Docs. If I'm on my mobile phone, for example, I can go edit that document and say, okay, listen, this is the way I like to write, or I find a book that I'm reading and a sentence that I specifically like, an author I really like. I can update that in a single place and then bring it directly into my AI system. So it's rewritten. It says I've been experimenting with AI writing tools differently than most people. Instead of asking for generic professional outputs, I've been thinking, building a personal voice system that concept. So it's different. It's completely different, but it does sound a little bit like me and not so generic. And that is based on just inferring from 6 different ways that I told it to update that original LinkedIn post. And what I'm trying to portray here to you is that use the system as a way to evolve your writing. Like, it can be really exciting. It can be like, for example, like, I find a specific movie that I like, and ask the LLM, what can you infer from this movie I like, and how can it how can it change my writing style? And then you're just constantly experimenting it and slowly updating this guide that you can then use that sounds a little bit more like you. And you might want to then, when you get a little bit more advanced, break it down into something that's specifically for emails, something specifically for blog posts, something you specifically talk to friends like. And you can slowly interact with it away like that. So let's move on.
That was great, Ty. For something like this, since I work in marketing, I do write a lot of content, and having a style guide that I can just reference over and over helps me with output just a lot quicker.
Thanks, Nancy. Yeah, so I want to go back to this grid again, right? Like, we basically spent 6 steps just telling it how to improve it over time. So we eventually got to this block that we like. You can evolve it more and more and learn more and more about how different writings you like. And what's nice is also you might want to pull in different styles and write and talk with the LLM and say, how can you extract this? This is a sentence I like. How can I update my style guide? Then ask it, okay, write this sentence, take this piece of writing and rewrite it. And we're going to give you an exercise at the end on how you can move forward with this. But that's the whole idea, is just for you to experiment and develop your own voice over time. So we went from a vanilla AI voice to your voice in 6 steps. No emojis, no fake urgency, anti-hype, precise language, my preference, clean and minimal. And the most important thing is we saved it in a central place here, which you can then go and edit and change as you wish. You can ask either the LLM to do that, or you can do that. And then this is a living document that you can then update over time. And I want to illustrate that it doesn't have to be specifically in Google Docs. It could be in Notion if you're working in Notion. It could be in Google Drive if you're using Google Drive. There's no specific way you store this. And we're going to get into that a little bit at the end. But it's a nice way to be able to reference information outside of the AI chat. Because one of the things I always run into is that I have a really good conversation, and then something else happens, I start a new conversation, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I had a conversation about this that I can't remember where I found it. So if you offload that to a central system that you like to store stuff, you can do that as well. So now we get to the really fun part, and this is really interesting. And what you really want to have fun with this is in a way that I want us as a group to look at that specific post and you tell me what you don't like about it. And hopefully we get multiple different people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and we can bring that in and develop a persona that is collective. It's between all of us. It's not just mine. And we're going to do that by just dissecting that post. You can just paste it in the Zoom chat. I've given Nancy a document that she's going to paste everything in. And then we're going to develop a persona from that. And then after that, we're going to also ask you a piece of writing that you like. And you, like, it could be from a movie. It could be something your daughter, your son sent you. It could be anything that resembles a piece of writing that you specifically like that made a difference. And then we're going to use something that you dislike, which was from the LinkedIn post, something that you like, and combine it to a single persona that we're going to then use to rewrite again. So,
Ty, before we move on, let me just answer or have you answer a few questions from our audience here. We have something from Bianca. Can you, you talked about us referencing a style guide that you create, but can you use a web page as your reference? For example, if you previously wrote content for a blog post, for example, could the AI use that as its reference point, as its so-called style guide?
yes, it could definitely. I would basically take that piece of content, and we can get into that in a little bit now, is that in order to build that style guide, you want to build in from multiple different pieces of writing that you like. So if that is a specific piece that you like, get it in and ask it to extract information that can build. You can use the prompt that I sent there, that's in Notion, to build that specific style guide based on what it can extract from that essay. But the more information you give it of what you like, the more that style guide is going to evolve over time. So you can say, pull in this information and say, write me a blog post based on this essay. But then it's not really evolving over time. So you want to maybe mix in different inputs. And that's what I'm trying to show with this experiment, is that it might be one essay that you wrote. It might be another Twitter post that you wrote. It might be a LinkedIn post that did well. You want to pull from multiple different sources and create something that's generic that can be used across multiple different pieces of writing. But yes, that's 100%. That's exactly what you need to do. You need to bring in and research context that you like and use that to build your style guide. But I would encourage you to think even beyond that and bring other information as well and let it evolve from there.
Okay. And Ty, one more before we move on. This is a question from Mark. Could this help me rewrite content that was generated by AI and make it so good that it's undetectable by other AIs?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I mean, that's exactly what we did here, right? We took something that was 100% from AI. We just went through 6 iterations and we made it. I mean, it's all subjective, right? Like, I know something was written by AI by just reading, like, that this is all caps, that there's emojis in here, that there's M dashes in here. But it's very difficult once you go beyond that in order to discern whether it was written by AI. I sometimes can't tell it. But yeah, that's the point, is like you want to iterate exactly like we did until it sounds like it wasn't written by AI to you, but someone else might be able to pick it. There is no single system that's going to say, oh, this was written by AI. I mean, I think they try to do that and it's very difficult to do that. But yeah, I mean, this is mostly the point, is that you want to get it to a point that it sounds like you. And when it sounds like you, it's obviously doesn't sound like AI.
Thanks, Ty.
Perfect. Yeah, so back to this experiment we want to have. So I'm sorry, who did you say said that they had a blog post or a web page that they could pull a reference in?
That was Bianca, I believe.
Yeah, so Bianca, just take something from there that you quite like. It might be a sentence, it might be a paragraph, it might be anything that you can just paste into the chat, and we're going to use this information in order to build up a persona. So just like Bianca, it could be something you wrote, it could be something someone else wrote, and just paste it in the chat. Don't do that right now. First, please, sorry, I jumped ahead of the game. Just look at this and tell me what you don't like. And then we'll give you a few minutes to go through that. And then Nancy's going to have a worksheet here with anything that people have written. And this is going to kind of touch into what Bianca said, where we're going to be putting information from various different sources, and we're going to see how it's going to create something that's quite exciting and interesting, maybe even chaotic.
Yeah, we would love your inputs. Just drop it in the chat. It's the same blurb that we looked at earlier, right? There are many things to hate about this. I certainly hate some aspects of it, and I will start, as a matter of fact. I don't like too many exclamation points.
Yeah, it could be something super simple, really, really interesting. And the more collaboration you get, the better it's going to turn out. I've already got here, so I'm going to paste some of these in as well.
It's too salesy. That's my other complaint. Yeah, we would love to hear your inputs as well. If anybody else has opinions, feel free to drop it in the chat.
I'm going to say those as well. I hate emojis. I hate them. Did you
Yep,
write?
too many emojis. Yep. Okay, I'm dropping these into your document, Ty. There you go.
Let's see what's something else that I don't like out of this thing. Yeah, all caps. This sounds very much like an AI wrote it. The sheet. Sounds very much like an AI wrote it. Okay, so we'll give you maybe just a few more seconds.
Yeah, and then we have a question. Could we include a Spanish version in your output as well, Ty?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Somebody said not personable. Got that. Include a Spanish version. All right, I think we've got enough inputs here.
Perfect. And while I'm doing this, just think about something that piece of writing that you like, something that resonates with you, speaks to your personality, and just think about that. Don't paste it right now, but we'll get to that. So I am going to just take that in. And I've got this prompt here. So we're on basically Act 2. And we said here, I'm going to just paste the post that we have so the other than has context. And what I didn't do is I didn't start this chat. Slides. Okay, come on. Okay, so what people hate. And yeah, if you've got anything that you that you do like, something that resonates, please, this is going to really make a difference to the persona. You can paste it in the chat as well. And I'll show you some examples. Some examples are, this one was Die Hard, Welcome to the Party, Pal. The Great Gatsby by So we beat on boats against the current. Two roads diverge in a yellow road. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action.
Ty, are these examples of styles that you like? Is that what you were showing just there? Okay.
So any piece of writing that you like, that's resonated you, feels a little bit personal, something that you would like to sound like something that you could be proud of, or something you read online that sounded interesting and you like the way the author put those words together. It could be a paragraph, it could be a sentence. It doesn't have to be anything too vast. If we don't have anything, I'm just going to paste that other, I can prepared with some examples that I got from another audience there. So I'm going to just prepare this.
All right. So you've got a long list of things that people didn't like, and you've also got a list of what people do love or want to emulate.
Exactly. So we're giving it a sense of stuff that we don't like and a sense that we do like. Some people like to refer to the style guide as a negative style guide. So it is just based on stuff that you do not like, and that's how you influence it. But it could also be based on stuff that you do like. And there is this concept of, it's not too technical, but it's called few-shot prompting. And what you're telling the LLM is you're just giving it a set of examples. And that's what I wanted to do here. I was trying to convey. It's just a set of examples of things that you relate to, that feel meaningful for you, that you can then use to evolve your writing style. And then you can see how the LLM will then take that and generate something on you about you. And it might not like it, you might do like it, but it's really, really, really good at being able to find patterns and things that you might miss. And that's what you're trying to get to. So I'm just going to paste that in right now. Okay, so this voice emerges quietly, assured, economical, grounded in observable truth. It speaks like someone who's already done that work and doesn't need to convince you they have. Okay, great. And I want to say something. Okay, is there any single post in the list of what we do like that influenced this? And were there any contradictory points? And how did you handle that? So it's really interesting to see like what is influencing your guide and your writing style and how it might feel. And then we're going to take this whole guide and we're going to rewrite that and see what that turns out like. And the whole point of this exercise is to teach you that you want to pull in from many different sources in order to generate your own style and your own taste. A lot of people say, oh, but don't write with LLM, and just tell don't write with the LLM. It doesn't write well, or it sounds very much like an AI. And I'm really trying to convince you that use it to write, because it can write and influence your work and help you move quickly, but you need to put up the work up front, and then it can become a collaborator. Okay, so it says economy of language, primary influence Marcus Aurelius. That's not surprising. That shaped the entire profile more than others. Why? Economy of language and wisdom, philosophical weight, blah, blah, blah. The contradiction, Eminem versus Fitzgerald. They only did one shot, do not miss your chance. So by getting a bunch of different diverse inputs, it might combine them into something that's quite interesting. And then I'm going to say here, do you mind taking this and rewriting that LinkedIn post based on this new voice guide that you stored? I really like that, actually. I really do like that. I don't know what the audience thinks, but it sounds a lot better than this initial post. Yeah. Sorry. I'll let you read it. Oh, yes. And there's the Spanish version as well. I don't speak Spanish. I don't know if that's correct, but please, it sounds like it looks like it is. Yeah. So the idea is that, yeah, you can get it to produce a different language. I don't know if it's correct. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong there, but the idea is that we took a bunch of different inputs, combine it into something that kind of resembles or might like even surprise you. And that's the one thing I also want to say is that this system is so smart. It's trained on so many different pieces of data around multiple different domains. And your experience and the way that your background all can influence your writing in really interesting ways that you can invoke and expose through this large language model. If you're just telling it what to do the whole time, it's not really going to evolve, and it's just going to kind of, but it's a really good way for you to also experiment and change your writing. And then once you've got this, we can save it and we can reuse this over time. So this was the collective voice that we all put together from multiple different backgrounds. And I encourage you to also do that, like pick pieces of writing from multiple different places and see how it evolves and changes your writing style over time. So here we go. Just want to read this. So basically, we want to say that style emerges from consistency. And what we mean by that is that if you have something that you're constantly evolving and working towards, every email doesn't have to equal a new decision. Every post is not starting from zero. Every message doesn't have to be a generic AI. If you can just have a single place, a single source of truth, one decision replaces hundreds, your voice stays consistent, and AI becomes useful, not generic. And then you can tell anyone or friends that, this tool is actually quite useful, but it just requires upfront work to work like a collaborator. And if you work with it like a collaborator, you're really going to get the most out of it. Really, really are. So in conclusion, we're going to cover a little part after this, but I just wanted to kind of illustrate this. I want you to just take it as an experiment. Take a piece of writing you do not like. Iterate it in the same way that I did. Expose it to say like get one step at a time. Say, I don't like this part. I don't like that part. I don't like this. And then tell it what you do like. Give it a piece of writing that you do like. Pull it from those different sources. Like Bianca said, paste that essay. Listen in here. How can this influence my style guide? How can I use this to write my style guide? Then take that and then rewrite a paragraph with that and see if you like it a little bit more. The good thing is to experiment over time. And then if you don't like it, say why you don't like it. And then you're evolving this into a generic piece of writing that you can then reuse. Then you need to save it somewhere. And that's what I'm going to get into now. You can save it into Google Docs, Google Drive, anywhere else, and then you can use it and evolve it over time. And style just emerges from consistency. I'm going to share this blog post, not right now, but it's a really good reference in talking about style is a set of constraints that you stick to. And you can produce really good work if you just stick to those constraints and you understand your style. Because that's what's going to differentiate you. If everyone can write, And everyone can produce the same thing. How do you stand out? Like, how do you become different? How do you sound more like you? And this is a way you can do it. One thing we need to cover is that I was able to retrieve this through, actually, sorry, apologize. I didn't send this to Nancy to review. So one thing is I say, I really like this. I really like this blog post. And one thing I want to just quickly do here is just show you, because I don't want to close that chat, because if I close it, it's gonna remove my information. Is I did research in Claude Desktop, to find when are the most optimal times to post for LinkedIn and Twitter. And it came back with this document that I'm not going to read, but it's very, very thorough. It spends, I wish it could tell me. Okay, so it spent 21 minutes researching and doing research from multiple different resources. And if you want to know how to do that, it's really easy. You just enter your chat and you select research. You turn this on when you ask it a question, and it will go do research on a specific target for you. So I said, do some research on the most optimal times to post to LinkedIn and Twitter. It generated this for me. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to come here. I really like this blog post. I'm going to say, based on the search below, send the post above to nancy@civic.com and suggest times based on search. I'm going to paste that in. What? So now I should have read it. Okay, cool. It's actually formatted it for LinkedIn and for, oh no, sorry. It's said these are the times that it should post it. This researcher has Mildred post 3 times for research below. I don't think it included the post there. Okay, sorry. Please include that actual post from the style guide in the email and send it. So one thing I'm just trying to show you here is that I'm able to connect these different services to Claude, so I don't have to go out, copy and paste, and send this into Gmail. Everything can be done through here. I can retrieve my style guide. I can send an email. I can schedule something to post, which I'll do once Nancy responds. It's just drafting that. And you are able to do this by going into something that's called connectors here. Don't want to keep that chat from running, so I'll go here. You see here, there is a set of connectors that you can go. And there's a bunch of different services. I don't know what you work to, but like you can look at Box, Close, Clockwise, Shoot Active Campaign. But I've specifically connected something that's called Civic here Nexus, and that's the company that Nancy and I work for, and that allows you to connect to multiple different tools. And I've connected to GitHub, Google Docs, Gmail, but we support a bunch of different ones. And this is all this is allowing me to connect to these services, so I don't have to specifically go and copy paste between these different things. And then it will send it on my behalf, and Nancy can get it, she can review it, and then schedule the post for us, and send it. And it's taken quite a while time to send here, but the whole idea is that you can connect to the different services you need, and you can stay in the flow the entire time inside of Claude or ChatGPT and keep your work right there. You don't have to move between different tools. Now, the theory that I think it's going to work like this is going to be the interface you work through mostly, without having to go to multiple different apps, because it kind of keeps you in the flow and it just works really, really, really well. And that's how I was able to fetch my Google my Google document style guide and put it into my context window. So you can think about being able to pull all these different information from various different places in order to influence your writing, to bring it into work, to discuss something. You might want to, a good use case might be putting in your style guide to respond to an email that you can then do directly into Claude. But there's multiple different use cases that you can refer, and it just really helps you move a lot quicker, instead of saying, copy this email, paste it in Claude, please write like me, sending it, you know. So yeah, we really, really hope that was actually 5:45. That's a good time. So we've got probably around 15 minutes for questions. And just to convey, like, please start experimenting, find your style, really iterate over it, think about it. It can really get exciting if you think of the LLM as not as something that will do something for you, but something that you can collaborate with in order to evolve your own style over time. And that's what we really hope you take away from the session.
So Ty, from what I can see here, it seems like Claude did send it over to me, right? I'll send that blog post to Nancy at Civic. That's what it said.
Yeah.
Okay. I will check my email. I don't have it yet.
Oh, wait, sorry. It's still writing it. It's actually sending you that whole research document. I should have been a bit more explicit. I've noticed I'm not very good at my instructions, but
Yeah, I think the parameters of the request were just way too wide. If it had been something simpler, like please send this LinkedIn post to Nancy for review, it would have sent to my email. I would have probably just told Ty, hey, this looks fantastic. It sounds exactly like you.
yeah, don't send an inspire, of course.
But while we wait for this, why don't we address a few Q&As here, Ty?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's go with Larry. You mentioned earlier that you prefer Claude rather than ChatGPT. Are there any other chatbots that you like or do not like? And don't worry, you're not speaking on behalf of Civic. This is just personal preference.
It's a very interesting question, and ChatGPT is really good at being able to be thorough. So ChatGPT's got three different models. It's got ChatGPT 5, so they evolved from ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5, and in there they've got three different models: fast thinking and pro. Pros, and the response takes longer over time. I really don't like the way that ChatGPT responds back to me. I don't know why. Like, it doesn't do it to my wife, but it like uses acronyms, and it's not very easy for me to understand. Whereas Claude, I can. So it's really quite personal. But in terms of like getting it to brainstorm different ideas, I find I really like it. But writing, I much prefer Claude. But in saying that, other models, I code, so I'm a software engineer. There is a really good model that's called Composer, but it's specifically for coding, and it's insanely quick. Like, it's ridiculously quick. It's like being able to enter a few commands and the thing just spits it out right away. But it's obviously not as accurate as the other models because you have thinking models. You have obviously various different types of models. So it's not taking the time to think and come up with an answer. It's just spitting out the answer straight away. So you have to give it very clear instructions. But it's completely changed the way I've worked and my workflow, because like you think, okay, yeah, what should I do with my idle time? This thing is writing this entire email. Let me pick up my phone, search Twitter. But when it's quick, you're constantly in the flow. You're constantly engaged. And I think they're going to solve that by building quicker models. But
And
yeah,
a lot of it boils down to just personal preference, genuinely, right? Ty, you've mentioned that you prefer Claude above all else. And me, I actually prefer ChatGPT above all else. There's just something about using it to generate ideas for short form writing, which I do a lot of, that I find ChatGPT does better for me versus Claude. So it really is just a matter of trying out the different models and finding what works for your personal style.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Ty, I keep interrupting you.
So if speed's a big thing for you, then yeah, the model choice will also be dependent on that.
Let's keep on going with some Q&As here. So the version that you've been demoing for us today in Claude, is this a free version? Is this a paid version? And what do you get with a paid version that you just don't have at a high level with a free version?
So the high level, you get access to stronger models and more usage. I to be honest with you, I don't know what the free plan exactly is, but okay, so let's go to your plans. I actually
Probably has very limited memory. I would imagine that would be the
yeah,
case.
I don't even think it has memory in the free plan, but also your usage is very limited. But you can get very far, I know, with ChatGPT just using the free version. I'm not 100% sure how far you can get with Claude just using the free version. But you can see here, it does give you some more usage and free access, more Claude models. Okay, so the one thing that I did demo to you is being able to connect to different services, like being able to connect to your email, calendar, and docs. That is not offered in the free version. So you'd have to pay for that version. And then like max plans, like you can get really quite far just using the pro plan.
Yeah, maybe a longer context window, I would imagine. Context window, would you give a quick definition of what that is, Ty?
Yeah, so context window is basically the amount of data you fit into the model for it to influence the output that it's going to get. So the more information, you want to be really cognizant about what you put into the context window. So you don't want to take like garbage information because you're going to get garbage out. And the longer the context window is, it's more likely that the LLM is going to hallucinate. And what I mean by hallucinate means it's going to make up information that is not necessarily correct. And that usually happens in the middle of the context window. So it usually remembers things right at the end and things right at the beginning. But the more the context grows, it's going to lose information in the middle. So you want to be cognizant about the information that you paste into the context window, information you give it. So like this massive research report that I gave to Nancy, it's going to fill up the context window quite a lot. Claude is really good at being able to abstract that away from you, but you might get into an instance where you're chatting for a long time and eventually it says that your context window is expired. Please go start a new chat. And if you're using a model like Opus, you're going to run out your credits a lot quicker in a context window that's very large versus one that is very short. And that actually happened to me earlier. So you want to be cognizant of what you put into the context window. And what I mean by that is the information that you're throwing into the chat that's just growing over and over time. And then it might forget something that it mentioned right like towards the middle. You might ask it a question and it can't remember it. So that's the important part that you need to remember. And it's like, it's good at also being able to look back at previous chats and find information, but it's not perfect. And it's a really difficult problem to solve, actually.
Thanks, Ty. We're going to keep on going with some questions here. We have a very broad question, which maybe you and I can answer just from where we sit inside the civic business. The question is, how can we use this? Meaning, how can we use LLMs, I guess, to grow a business? Maybe I'll start. So I work in marketing, like I said, and I do use it very, very often. I use it to help me generate content ideas for landing pages, for example. I know we have other team members that help to that use it for generating ideas for social media posts, maybe LinkedIn posts on X accounts. I use it for email campaigns as well. And it still takes a lot of finessing, right? I can't just go to ChatGPT and have it generate an email exactly the way that we want it because we do follow a certain brand voice. I want to make sure it doesn't deviate too much from what people would expect from the Civic brand. So it does take finessing, but it does help me increase my output at a much greater rate. What about you, Ty?
Yeah, I think you covered most of it there, Nancy. Yeah, it's really good about like I think this is a good thing. Like look at your business and you think about like how can AI help me? Think about the workflows and the things you do day to day that you really dread and you really don't like doing. And then brainstorm with the LLM. Like just come in here and say, this is my workflow from A to B. How can I optimize this and how can you help me optimize that? I think the first thing you need to always remember is just turn to the large language model and ask a question. You might not agree with it. You really might not agree with it. But it's good in order to be able to bounce decisions and ask for advice. If there's anything you're looking for, anything you need to, ChatGPT is actually the one thing I really do like about it, now that I remember, is that it's got advanced voice mode. And you can just literally put that on and speak to it like you speak to a person and just have it on in the kitchen and speak to it and say like, this is what problem I'm having at business. This is what I'm trying to do. This is how I'm trying to grow. This is where my numbers are. And it will ask you for information. And then you can basically like chat to it like you have a professional in that specific domain.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And Ty, I know you use it a lot actually in that capacity, which is awesome. All right, next questions here. Do you have any experience with AI agents in Claude and ChatGPT? That's a question from Richard. Have you also tried the browser version of ChatGPT Atlas?
So I haven't tried Atlas. We're not allowed to try it at work yet, but I would like to try it. In terms of the agent one, yes, I do. Claude Code has a specific thing called your code. Sorry, Claude Desktop has a specific tab in the Claude Code. And Claude Code is basically just a piece of software that was written by Anthropic that allows you to set up and call an agent. And this agent can do multiple different things. It can organize the files on your file system. It can help you write code by just talking to it. It can basically control your computer by just typing on prompts. And it's the best way for I get people to be able to like experiment with an agent and see how powerful it is. If you just type in Claude Code, it will tell you exactly how to install it. It requires a little bit of terminal knowledge, but not much. And you can basically just you could control your computer just using a conversation, and it will prompt you every time it's trying to do something. Anyway, but my point is, they've also got it installed into Claude AI, which is their web version. I can click onto here, and it's connected to all my essays that are actually stored in a version control system called GitHub. And in there, it's got my style guide, so I can just quickly come up with an idea and say, hey, I'm thinking about this specific idea. I need to write it for a LinkedIn post. Please go and do that work for me. And it can go do research, can do a bunch of different things, and then come back when I'm ready. I can review it and then post it along. I think agents can be really, really good. And the best way to experience them is to use something like Claude Code. And we're actually having this discussion in our company meet today, is that a lot of the tooling is happening around development tooling. And it's really difficult to get agents to be able to work in production environments outside of coding and tooling. But once you see the potential of how Claude Code can iterate and do things outside of just coding, I think it's really going to start taking off. And this is something that's really amazing. Like, I can literally step away from my computer and ask it to go do something, and it'll go do it, build it for me. It's amazing.
All right, I think the last of our Q&A, we've gotten to everyone. If you have any last questions, feel free to pop it in the chat and I will grab it for Ty.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We would love you to join more of our workshops and teach more if you've got any ideas of stuff that you would like to learn. With agent is actually come up twice now, right, Nancy? It's maybe something we have to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. We consider this our current AI 101 topic, but we're definitely doing more for the more advanced sort of participants.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And we will upload this on YouTube tomorrow. So if you missed it, don't worry. We will be emailing you and you will be able to rewatch this. Thanks, everyone.